Let us understand how to use a custom warehouse directory. That is where the data would get stored. Either it could be in HDFS or in any other data source. I am going to use HDFS. While starting the Spark SQL shell, I will mention where within the HDFS I want to use the warehouse directory, and I will use the same Derby database to store the metadata. So let me start the Spark SQL shell, and I'll mention where the Spark master is running. Already I have started the master and the worker. So I do have the master and the worker started. The master is running in the machine with the host name node 5, and these are all the workers running and reporting to this specific master. So I'll mention this specific URL to connect to this specific master, and while starting the Spark SQL shell, I'll mention the data warehouse directory within the HDFS location. Since I have mentioned the location data warehouse directory, all the folders for the database or for the table would get created in this specific location within the HDFS. Show database, it would list all the database that is being managed within the data warehouse directory. So I have a database. Let me check what's the detail about this specific database. You see, describe. So this database maintains the data within this specific location. Let me drop the database. Drop database name cascade would drop all the tables available within the specific location. So while dropping, you see the data would get deleted, or all the folders available within that specific folder for the database would get deleted. Let me create a new database. Create database if not exists, and the database name. I can get more details about this specific database by using the describe command. It's going to maintain the data in this specific location within the HDFS. I can check the details, what are all the content available within the specific location using the HDFS command. It should be empty as we don't have any tables. It should be empty. Let me go ahead and create a table. I'm going to create a table with the name sample_07 within the specific database, and it would have the following columns: code, description, total employee, and salary. And each and every field within that specific file that I'm going to use to load the data into this table will be tab delimited. And when I say load data into this specific table, it would not validate the data because it's going to work with the concept of verify or validate the schema on read and not on write. I have some sample data within this specific location. So I have some code and all the columns that as I have defined, I have it. I'm going to load this specific data into this specific table. So the table would get created, and a folder with the name sample_07 would get created in the HDFS location. Let me load the data. Loading data is as equivalent as copying the file into the specific location corresponding to the table. So data would get copied. Now if I check the content within the specific location, I should have a folder, and within the location sample_07 I should have the file that I have copied. So all the content available within the specific file will be the data for this table. Let me check how many records I do have within it. Since I have connected to the master, the Spark SQL would have started as an application. So it is running as an application, and I can check the web UI of this specific application in the UI in the port 4040. And for all the query that I am firing, whatever the job that is getting executed, I can see over here. So these are all the jobs that got executed. And if it is a Spark SQL application, you will see a tab saying SQL. For this particular job, it got executed, or for this particular query, it executed a job. So this is the detail about that specific job. And this cluster, it is having 3 worker. So if I get into that specific job, you can check the timeline, how this got executed, how many tasks, all those details we can see over here. I can even copy the file directly into the HDFS location. That would also be considered as the data source for this specific table. Let's do the test on that scenario. So I'm going to copy the file into the location specific to this table. Now I should have 2 files. Both the file would be considered as the source for this specific table. So now let me check how many records I have. I do have double. And we can get more details about the table using the command formatted or extended. Describe, formatted, the database, and then the table name would get me the meta information about this specific table in more formatted way. What are all the columns when it was created, and what is the type of table? There are two types of table we can create, managed and external table. By default, all the table that is getting created would be managed table. That means the data would be managed in the default warehouse location that we have defined. I can define the warehouse location either in the Spark SQL shell while starting, or in the configuration file we can mention. So within the configuration location, under configuration as a part of Spark default configurations, I can mention the warehouse location, and that would be taken care by the administrators. Here I can mention what is the default Spark warehouse location. This is a quick summary on how to customize the warehouse location, as well as how to have the data being managed within the HDFS, and how to start Spark SQL shell by pointing it to the Spark master.